So in our previous class, we have discussed about the length of the summit curve, that how the length of the summit curve is calculated, and we have some numericals on that calculation of the length of summit curve. Now you know that there are two types of vertical curve. One is summit curve, and another one is valley curve. Now, for the summit curve, you have designed the summit curve on the basis of stopping set distance and overtaking set distance. But for the valley curve, what happens? In the valley curve, the most important factor is comfort condition of the driver. Therefore, you cannot design the valley curve as for the summit curve. Okay. So in the valley curve, the main important thing is comfort condition because centrifugal force is acting downward. So therefore, so if we draw the length of a or a valley curve, if you draw a valley curve, in that case, you can see that okay, suppose there is a valley curve which is formed in between two gradients. Now, what happens? Suppose that portion of the road is straight path. Okay, that portion of the road is straight path, and from here that is straight. Now, within the straight path, if you introduce a circular curve, like in the like the case of your summit curve, in that case, what will happen? Here, your centrifugal force at this point, at the straight path, your centrifugal force would be zero. Okay, your P would be zero. But as soon as the vehicle crosses that particular cross section, that suddenly centrifugal force would be acting over there. So at that particular point, when the vehicle crosses the straight path, in that case, your centrifugal force would be P equal to W V square divided by G into R. Okay, so for this reason, what will happen? The passengers in the vehicle will feel a sudden jerk when the vehicle just crosses a particular cross section. Okay, so it will create discomfort to the passenger. So for this reason, what you have to do, you have to gradually introduce the uh, radius of the curve over here. Okay, you cannot suddenly introduce the circular curve over here. You have to gradually introduce the centrifugal force over here. Okay, now the thing is how the centrifugal force will act. So as per the formula written over here, your centrifugal force P is W squared by Gm. So it indicates if radius is small, in that case centrifugal force will be lesser. Okay, and you know the radius of a straight path is basically infinity. Okay, so if the radius of a straight path is infinity, in that case P would be W v square by G into infinity, that would be zero. Now, if you introduce the centrifugal force gradually, in that case, what you have to do? Initially, your radius will be higher, and gradually you will reduce your radius so that to attain the design radius of the valley curves. Okay, so in that case, you need a particular curve for which radius is not fixed. Okay, so in such type of curve, your radius would not be fixed, radius would be vary. Initially, radius would be more, and gradually that radius would be vary. So basically, that type of curve is called transition curve. Now, in the transition curve, there are two types of transition curve. One is your vertical transition curve, which you are providing over there in case of valley curves. Now, another transition curve is there that is called horizontal transition curve. That is also very important. Now, where this horizontal transition curve is used, let us discuss about this. Suppose a road is there and another road connects over there, and you need to form one circular curve over there. Okay, you need to form one circular curve over there. Now, what will happen in such cases? Initially, the road was straight and suddenly there is a circular curve. Now, if there is a sudden of the uh, uh, circular curve, in that case, there would be sudden changes in radius. So initially in the straight path, your radius is infinity, but suddenly at this point, your radius would be r. So whenever a vehicle crosses this horizontal curve, in that case, the driver and the passengers will feel a sudden centrifugal force which will be acting in the outward direction. Okay, so for this case also the passenger will feel a sudden jerk. So for this reason, you need something so that the transition from a straight path to a circular curve could be swift. And this could be done with the help of your transition curve. So here what happens, your transition curve is provided at the starting point and at the end point of the circular curve. So how it looks, let us discuss about this thing. So initially your transition curve would be behave like a straight path and gradually it changes its radius and again it would have a straight path. So this portion, in this portion and in this portion, you are using a different curve than the circular curve. So basically that portion is your circular, transition curve. That portion is your transition curve. So why transition curve, horizontal transition curve is provided to enable the swift transition of the vehicles from a straight path to a horizontal curve. This is one reason. Now, there are other reasons why you have to provide that transition curve in the horizontal curve. So the first reason is your this one, that is introduction of the centrifugal force gradually on the vehicles. That is one reason. Now another reason is there. Now you know in the horizontal curve you have to provide your super elevation. Okay. Now if that horizontal curve starts with a circular one at the start of that curve, in that case, what will happen? Your cross section of the road would be look like that. Okay, so there would be a sudden change. So initially that would be straight, and after some time you are, or suddenly you are providing that super elevation. Basically, that portion is the super elevation. So you have to gradually provide that super elevation. Okay, so that vehicle can ascend that super elevation portion swiftly. So for this reason also your transition curve has to be provided in the horizontal curve portion so that you can introduce the super elevation gradually. Now there is one limit that how you can introduce the super elevation. and that limit is called 1 in n. So generally for the plain and rolling terrain, that n is limited up to 1 in n, limited up to 150, 1 by 150. So based on this criteria, you have to gradually introduce the super elevation over that place. Okay. So this is second criteria. Now third criteria is in the horizontal curve, extra widening is provided. Now, if there is only circular curve, no transition curve, in that case, that extra widening portion would be look like that. And it will not be visually attractive. So in such cases, that extra widening portion should also be gradually introduced. So that gradual introduction of the extra widening could be done using or providing that transition curve where you are introducing the radius gradually. So these are the basic concept of a transition curve. Now let us discuss about different type of transition curve and how their characteristics are. So if we discuss different type of transition curve, the types of transition curves are, first one is spiral or orthogonal. So basically these are the spiral curve. Okay, in the spiral curve, what happens? Initially, the radius is for a spiral curve is radius is infinity, and gradually it reduces to a value which is equal to the circular curve. Now here the changes of the radius is uniform, is constant. So if it is constant, in that case, the rate of the centrifugal force or centrifugal acceleration is again would be constant. So if it is constant, it indicates that you are introducing the centrifugal force gradually, which will make the travel jet free. So generally for our horizontal cases, this spiral type of transition curve is used. This is lemniscate and this is cubic parabola. Now IRC recommended spiral as the transition curve because it fulfills the requirement of an ideal horizontal transition curve. Now what is the requirement? Rate of change of centrifugal acceleration is constant or consistent as we have discussed. So for this reason, radius of the transition curve is infinity at the straight edge and changes to a value r which is equal to the circular curve. So therefore, your rate of centrifugal acceleration will be uniform. Okay. So in design of the transition curve, in design of the length of the transition curve, there are three conditions. One condition is rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. Second condition is rate of introduction of the super elevation. And third condition is as per the IRC empirical formula. So using these three conditions, you have to find out what is the length of the transition curve. Now, after finding out the length of the transition curve, with these three conditions, you have to find out which value is the maximum. And the maximum value is the length of your transition curve. Now, first condition is rate of change of centrifugal acceleration. Now, if the rate of change of centrifugal acceleration is c, in that case, that rate of change of centrifugal acceleration, basically your centrifugal acceleration is v square divided by r. So, your centrifugal force P is wv square by gr, but your centrifugal acceleration is only this term v square by r. Okay, so the change of the centrifugal acceleration is initially at the straight path, your centrifugal acceleration was 0, and it changes to v square by r at the start of the circular curve. So your total change is v square by r minus 0. Now, what is the rate of change? Rate of change with respect to time, that is v square by r minus 0 divided by t. Okay, so that is the rate of change of centrifugal force. Now, what is T? T is the total time taken to overcome the transition curve of length Ls. So, if the length of the transition curve is Ls and speed of the vehicle is V meter per second, in that case, you can write T as equal to Ls by V. Okay, you just put all these things over there. Instead of T, you put Ls by V, you will get this equation. C equal to V cube divided by Ls into R. Okay, now from this equation, you can find out what is the value of Ls. So your value of Ls is nothing but V cube divided by C into R. Okay, where C is the rate of centrifugal acceleration. Now, in this equation, that V is in meter per second. Now, if you want to directly use that V as in kilometer per hour, in that case, you can use this equation, that is 0.0215 V cube divided by CR. Now, the question remains how you can find out the value of C. Now the value of C is given by the IRC formula, and that formula is your C equal to 80 divided by 75 plus V. Okay, where V is in kilometer per hour. Now the thing is, using that equation, you will find out some value of the C. Now the value of the C should be in between 0.5 to 0.8. Now if you are getting a value of C as 0.4, in that case you have to adopt the value of C as 0.5. And if you are getting a value of C as 0.9, in that case you have to consider your C value as 0.8, because that are the limit of your C value. After this, you put all these values in the equation and you will get what is the value of Ls. Now our next thing is the rate of introduction of the super elevation. Now in the super elevation design, suppose that is the total width of the pavement as B, including the extra widening provided in the horizontal curve. Okay, and this is the basically slope of the curve. Now this slope of the curve is basically nothing but the rate of the super elevation. Suppose that rate of the super elevation is E. Okay. Now the total height of the outer edge of the pavement with respect to the inner edge is nothing but capital E. Okay. Now the E is depending on the width of the pavement. Now that introduction of the super elevation, there are basically two popular methods. One is you are rotating the pavement with respect to the inner edge, and another one is you are rotating the pavement with respect to the central line. Now, if you rotate the pavement with respect to the central line, in that case, it would be case. Okay. So in case of if you are rotating the pavement with respect to the inner one, in that case your total E is that one. But if you are rotating the pavement with respect to the inner line, a central line, in that case your E would be divided by 2 in both the directions. So you are moving upward a total distance of E by 2 in the outer edge, and you are moving in the downward direction, the total distance of E by 2 in the inner east portion. So ultimately your total raise of the pavement is E. Okay. Now this total E will be depending on the width of the pavement. So in this case, your E would be E into B, whether B is the width of the pavement, and in such cases your E would be E into B divided by 2, because here E is E by 2. Okay, and what is B? B is the width of the pavement including the extra widening. So basically it turns out to be E into W plus WE, where W is the width of the pavement and W is the extra widening provided over there. Okay. Now, in such cases, your LS would be E into N, and in these cases, your LS would be E into N. Okay, where N is varies from 1 in 100 to 1 in 150, depending on the different conditions, like whether the terrain is plain or rolling, etc. Okay, so that are the things which are written over there. And another formula is there, that is minimum length as per the IRC guidelines. So IRC has given was empirical formula for the LS, that is 2.7 V square divided by R for the plain and rolling terrain where V is in kilometer per hour. And for mountainous and steep terrain, your LS would be V square divided by R. So using these three conditions, you have to find out what is the length of the LS, and the maximum of these three values would be your length of the transition curve. Now let us solve one numerical on the transition curve. Okay, I've written that numerical in the chat. We just go through this. So in this numerical, first you have to calculate what is the value of C. So value of C would be 80 divided by 75 plus what V is 65, and you will get a value of C as 0.5 second, 5 meter per second T. Okay. Now see, the value of C is in between 0.5 to 0.8, which is acceptable or which is accepted value. Then you have to find out what is the value of LS. Now how to calculate the value of LS? So your value of LS is 0.0215 divided by 0.57 into 220. Okay. So using this equation, we will get the value of LS as 47.1 meter. So this is the length of your transition curve using the first formula. Now let us go for the second formula. Second is the allowable rate of introduction of the super elevation. So in that case, that allowable rate of super elevation depending on the rate of the super elevation. So in such cases, first you have to find out what is the rate of super elevation. So for the mixed traffic condition, the rate of the super elevation you have to calculate for a design speed of 75%, neglecting the friction. So if you consider this in kilometer per hour, in that case, that equation would be V square divided by 225 into R. Now, what is the value of V? Value of V is your 65 square divided by 225 into 220. Okay. So using this equation, you will get a value of E as 0.08. Okay. Now the thing is your rate of super elevation should not be more than 0.07. So in such cases, you have to go for the second step. That is, you will provide a maximum super elevation of 0.07 and check whether the coefficient of lateral friction is within the limit of 0.15 or not. So in the second step, you have to find out what is the coefficient of friction value. So that would be V square divided by 127R minus maximum super elevation of 0.07. By this, you will get your coefficient of lateral friction value as 0.08. Now, this value is well less than your 0.15 limiting value. Therefore, you can say that a super elevation rate value of 0.07 is very much safe and you can accept that value. So, your E value is 0.07. Now in the question, it is also given that is your pavement is rotated above the central line. So E value would be half of that total E value. Okay, capital E value would be half of that value. So your LS as per the introduction of the super elevation would be E into N by 2, where that E is small e into B into N is given as 150 divided by 2. Now the value of E is given as 0.07 into width of the pavement is given as 7.5 meter into 150 divided by 2, and you will get the LS value as equal to 39 meter. So from the first case, you are getting a value of 47.1 meter, and in the second case, you are getting a value of 39 meter. Now let us check for the third one. In that case, your LS value is into V square divided by 220, and you will get a value of 51.9 meter. So as per the definition, your length of the transition curve would be maximum one, and the maximum one is this one. So your length of the transition curve is 51.9 meter or 52 meter. So this is all about the transition curve. Now we'll discuss about the length of the valley curve, how length of the valley curve is estimated. Okay, so in this way, see, time is finishing for this meeting. So I am closing this meeting, and you have to again re-log in into the meeting with the same meeting link. So after the ending of the meeting, you just have to re-log in with the same meeting link.